mad at you. And I saw you.
You saw me at the store.
Yes. I tried to kill you, Dad. I missed. And I shot that man. And it's your fault. It's all your fault because you never loved me.
Hey, easy. Just go easy, Donald.
Would you ask those people to kill me? If I go for that gun, they have to. I heard it on the news.
I won't do that.
The only person I hate more than you is me.
Stop!
You want to test it, or are you all right?
I think we're good to go, man. I think we're good to go.
Sit back.
Yeah. Now we can just take it in for a moment, you know, get comfy. The ambiance is kind of nice.
It is nice, you know?
Yeah.
You got a little light going on?
I like the way that these flowers are illuminated.
Oh, yeah. I put them in last week.
And that's Jordan for you, ladies and gentlemen.
Gardener extraordinaire.
So, welcome to this 6th installment of the Adapt and Thrive series. I've been traveling around the country, talking to a bunch of different creatives and educators and healers in my network about how they have adapted their work, their livelihoods in the time of COVID, so that they can continue to thrive in their lives and they can continue to serve their communities and people the best way that they can. So I'm here in LA today with my buddy Jordan Tisdale, one of my oldest and most dear friends. We grew up across the street from each other. Directly across the street from each other in South Euclid, Ohio. Woo. So this is about as far back as it goes. Known each other our entire lives. And since then, Jordan has become a successful actor living out here in LA. He also does different types of therapy and energy work, which he'll be going into more clearly. So that's who I'm speaking with today. So, Jordan, I've been starting all these conversations just so people can get a clear picture of, what your life and work looked like before COVID. What was your grind? What was your flow of your work like?
So, man, let me tell you something. Before COVID, everything was very blink and you'll miss it kind of thing. You had to be I was very, very focused on the schedule, because auditions would pop up whenever. Whenever they pop up. So I have a studio that I work with. I work with a Pilates studio in the back, and they have a separate studio that I took over, where I'm able to work with all my clientele with stress therapy and corrective exercise. Okay. So I'm actually able to get clientele that are my own, that are private, and also from the hundreds of people that walk through the Pilates studio every day. So I'm I'm always fishing, which is great. So finding work hasn't been that difficult. So I don't have to do like a lot of the advertising or anything like that. I can really stay in the house, which helps my business out.
For sure.
So, I usually go in around 2 o'clock in the p.m. That's early for me. Well, I mean, since I have my own business, in New York City, I was waking up at 4 a.m. to go train. So, but I had an opportunity to start working there too. I did. But, before that, usually I'll go to the gym, do some type of exercise that I was, doing at the time. And then just to work, and usually seeing like 4 or 5 clients a day easily. And then it's coming back home and getting down to whatever literature I got to get into, whether it's a script, whether I'm reading something. It was kind of like then you wake up and do the whole thing again.
So how would the acting stuff fit into that? Because obviously that doesn't follow a typical schedule of hours.
No, not at all. So for example, during that time, I landed a 2-episode guest spot for the show Deputy that was on with Stephen Dorff, who was on Fox. And luckily, the way I designed everything is that if I had to take some time off and leave, it's easy just to put my business on hold. Because A, I get to know all my clientele. They know me on a personal level, so it's not like I'm the face of a company and then get mad at the company. Get mad at me.
So
you
built your flexibility.
Exactly. I built it into the model. And that was a trial by error kind of thing. There was a point where I was working for other people, and I found that they were not as accepting of the things I want to do in my life.
Right.
So,
right.
I had to.
It's just part of just the self-directed life or the creative grind. It's
Absolutely, man. Because there's always a way.
Yeah, there's always a way, and we have to figure out how to make it all flow and fit together.
You can have it all, baby. You can have it all. You just got to kind of figure it out.
Yeah, and communicating to people respectfully
exactly.
is such a huge part of that.
Communication is a huge part. In anything, whether it be clients, friends, whatever, lovers. It's all about communication. As long as that's clear. So, So acting doesn't really get in the way. Nothing gets in the way of anything else. And it's all very forward moving, and it's all. Man, I'll tell you what, man. It hits the spot.
For you,
when it comes to
so
being able to creatively express.
Approaching COVID, you had found a groove where your client's system was worked out and it allowed space for the acting and stuff.
Exactly.
So when COVID landed, how did it change all of that? And how did it land on you?
Okay, that was it's actually pretty interesting because before COVID, within that same time of all this, this is SHIT shit. I can say that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
this is free media, baby.
Yeah, I was hoping, man. I don't know copyright. I don't know. When all this happening, I found ways in good pockets to meditate and to really get into deeper understandings of meditation. Everyone starts in the very basic place with meditation, quiet the mind. It's normally the first thing you want to start with. And then you start, understanding this amazing generator we have. It's almost like how people used to think that, or believe still, that pyramids were generators for aliens, and ways like that.
Energetic conduits.
Your body is that.
Yeah.
Before we reach to anything else, like your body is that. So I was able to find a way into which, I could start generating power from within and manifestations and really having a good understanding of what's going on inside.
So you were getting into learning how to work with your own energy,
exactly,
approaching the time of COVID.
And it's very serendipitous, very wonderful timing, because now all that acting was stripped away. That was stripped away is probably the best way. I think that any actors or people in the entertainment business.
So you probably had a similar experience to me, where you had months of work lined up, and probably stuff you were pretty excited about. And then in several days, you watched thousands of dollars disappear, and a lot to you were really,
the biggest thing there.
So this is a key moment I want to focus on, man, because I've been asking everybody about what their emotional experience was when COVID landed and how their lives started changing. For some people, it was a huge relief because they got out of situations that they didn't want to be in anymore. But for a lot of people, it was really devastating emotionally because they watched work that they had put in a lot of energy to manifest get wiped away. So it tested me a lot working through that process. So what was it like for you?
For me, it was there was a movie that I was in a movie called Hometown Hero when I first got out here, and the producers of that were doing this new movie, and it was about these guys in the NFL. They died in a fishing accident, very tragic, but they wanted to get me in on it. They already knew I played lead in one of their movies. It was like, oh, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Then COVID had happened, and it's just like, well, we don't know what's going to happen. We're trying to shoot the Dominican. We're not sure they're not letting Americans in.
Yeah.
So when those little things started happening,
how did you feel when that was going down? What was your
man?
Because obviously you have an ability to observe your reactions. What were your reactions?
My reactions. Surprisingly, I was calm.
Yeah.
Because I trust very heavily in my management and the people that I have, and I feel as though if there's anything that was going to be wrong, they would let me know. So I let that go. The one thing I'll tell you, the one thing I found, everything was gone. The one thing that was left was me. It was me. All these small things that I felt were defining me, it was gone. Like the auditions and the who I was to these casting people, and being on set, even though that was gone for a time being, I still had a lot to deal with me.
Yeah.
I still had a lot of me to deal with. So it's maybe that's gone, but I still, you you got stuff to work on still, man.
So once the outer cleared out, you were kind of left with this like, oh man, this is the stuff I've maybe been sweeping under the knee rug.
Exactly.
And it's time to take a look at that.
Because I've matured enough, man. The amount, and I'll tell you this, the amount of no's you know about the no's. The amount of no's that you get, especially in Hollywood, when you're auditioning for like series regulars, you go up against like big names and everything like that.
Yeah.
You get used to the no's.
Yeah.
You get used to all that, and then once you start getting used to that, but you know that the no's aren't no's to you as a creator, just no to this role, but you're doing great. Like you're doing wonderful.
Yeah.
Keep it up. So
Right.
it's okay. The no, is it a good no or is it like a hell no? And so when it's like, it's a good no, it's beautiful. So there's still that sense of security, still that sense of like the work I'm doing is good. The work I'm doing is being reciprocated. If they like what I'm doing to them when I'm acting, that's beautiful. That's wonderful. I'm still able to evoke emotion with them.
And you're still showing up and putting yourself out there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so like when you saw those no's, when I called my manager, I was like, yo man, what's this gonna look like? Like, is Hollywood over with? It's like everyone's talking about leaving and everything.
Yeah.
He was just like, no, everything's cool, everything's be fine. And so since I had that, so it was basically like hearing a good no again. It was basically like hearing a good no. So we're still
I
good.
like that, man.
You know? So it's just like we're still good? Yeah, we're still good, baby. Just hang on. Cool. All right, well I guess I can figure out my chakras.
So you were able to, like the mind, it sounds like, if I summate all of this, the mindfulness work and energy work that you were getting into in the time leading up to COVID arrival was giving you a different way to work with what you were experiencing in your career, which was learning these lessons on your value and your self-worth in regards to the no's, which are a necessary part of being an actor and a performer.
Absolutely.
And in learning to work with that and not take it personally and see it as part of a larger process, it disarmed some of the fear reaction that COVID may have brought about maybe your whole industry being wiped out.
Me possibly having no career. Me just never rebounding. None of this stuff.
So it sounds like that was really grounding.
It was super grounding, man.
Yeah.
And I'm left with me.
Yeah.
I'm left with the me that I haven't seen in a long time. I haven't seen this guy in a long time. Relaxed, not worrying about. I've sat in these auditioning rooms. I have very, very strong management, so I've been able to get into rooms that are very, very difficult to get into. And there's something about the experience of doing that. It's the difference between seeing a guy who done his first day landed boots on the ground in Vietnam versus a guy who's been doing 3 tours of it. You know, so like he doesn't even wear body armor, can't move quick enough. Stuff like that. You know, like you can learn these tricks.
Yeah.
And so when you're doing it, you start doing these small things to protect yourself. You start having these little learned experiences of going in there and being kind of harder. Understanding that there could be a no coming, but you're still going to give it your all. You might get that gut shot in a second, you're still going to give it your all. You want to go in there, you want to make this room just change to your aura. You're going to change the color of this room. It's gorgeous. And still make it a no. You keep your head up. You stay strong. Because I didn't need to have that guy in there for a second. Didn't need to have him.
So there's a certain mode that you would have to go into, and part of it is doing what's necessary to survive in that realm. But there is it sounds like there's some armoring.
There's armor,
and you get in this habit of having to kind of put a protective armor on yourself.
Because it protects that empathetic, beautiful side of you that is able to articulate and let these characters come on.
Yeah, that's really the core of it all.
God, man, it's like a baby chick. It's like a baby chick. It's so beautiful,
precious
delicate.
Little life form.
Oh my God! You've done so many plays, you read so much stuff. I can watch anything when it comes down to like a bully being stopped by another kid. That made me cry. Like you get so emotionally available.
Because you have to keep that place in yourself open in order, because that's where the authentic acting comes from.
Yeah, it's what's in all of us.
So if you armor it too much, you won't access it anymore.
Exactly, man. Because I'm trying to get past all of that. I'm trying to communicate to you on the most real level. And so sometimes I have to lead. society doesn't, it's not, I do not like saying society, but, in your everyday life, garbage men aren't able to sit there and, stop and for a minute and talk about their feelings. They're not able to do that because the job doesn't require that.
Right.
But, maybe he goes and sees a movie, he or she goes to see a movie afterwards, right? And it's, some actor in there evoking an emotion that's way deeper than them. That's exactly what they're feeling on their job. And they're able to cry a little bit in the theater. It has nothing to do with garbage or none of that stuff. It's the communication of that emotion. So the actor just really does have to be that strong. They have to, so you are protecting this amazingly strong little thing, and you have to protect it. You never want it to be damaged.
Yeah.
You never want it to be like, I gave him my all, but still didn't like it, man. I mean, even as childish as it sounds.
And then if you take that personally over time,
man, it tears you up,
yeah.
man. It does, and I'm telling you, I let myself go there when I first got out here.
Right.
I let myself. I had holes punched in the door in my closet that I just could not take the rejection because I've never dealt with it. So you start to slowly build this almost like shadow that protects you. And then COVID hits, and I'm not going on auditions anymore. I'm still that artistic, wonderful soul, and now I don't need to be protected by my shadow, which is always there. It'll always look over me, but it doesn't have to be there.
Yeah. So this different relationship to yourself started opening up now that you didn't have to put that armor on.
Yeah, exactly.
So as you started to head into that space, what started opening up for you?
Man, what started opening up to me was, and it still is in accordance with understanding, for an actor it's about being as human as you possibly can. So what opened up for me was understanding self, was understanding the high concepts of existence and being. And that was important for me because, I could create something, I could write something. Like, for example, I'm helping my buddy out, Byron, a good friend. He's an artistic director, and he has his own theater company. I'm helping him read. So I'm like, so that's fun and everything. I'm helping him curate plays and everything.
Yeah.
But man, you got to be that person. You got to be that person that has delved deep into the soul, that has really spent the time just meditating, sweating, doing what it takes to exude whatever information we can find about the inside and bring it out on the screen. You can't pretend that.
Right.
You can't. So the more I can dig inside myself, the better I can illuminate life.
It's reminding me of what, Andrew, the first guy I interviewed, who's a yoga teacher, trainer, and does host retreats around the world. He's talking about his approach to his trainings and how, when you're teaching a practice, if you're not embodying it, if you're not going to those depths within yourself, whatever you're offering is not going to be authentic.
No, it's not going to be.
And so it's like I'm just noticing how the reason I'm pausing here is because I'm seeing how this translates into whatever field one is in.
Yes.
Especially expressive creative fields. It's like, unless you're going to those depths within yourself, you're not going to be able to put the authenticity of deep self-knowledge into whatever role you're going to be in.
Exactly. That's exactly
so
right.
Like, a lot of people may think that, spirituality or investing the time in inner practices isn't worth their time because there's too much shit to do in life. But the paradox of that is you spend more time, you spend more time there, but it makes you infinitely better.
Exactly.
And opens up so much more depth into the thing that you do in this world.
That's it's all.
So I'm hearing
right
that story from, just what you went through. And there's a deepening relationship there.
Oh yeah, it's a very deep relationship. You get a chance to understand. It's to understand a little bit more about being itself, because the more you understand about your own being, is understanding about the universal being of existence. There really is. You get to the point where you get those, those little phrases people say, there is no I.
Right.
Like I know what you're talking about. That's a very difficult concept to grasp. and to tackle
until you experience some sort of detachment from your own ego,
and then you get it.
Then you see yourself in everybody. And then your capacity to empathize with others, especially people who piss you off,
tenfold.
Your ability to see beneath their ego and to see the part of existence that you share with them is now deeper. And that's powerful.
It changes. Your perception changes. And, there's some teachings that I've read, they like to say that your ego lives in your perception. So, you have to be very careful about the way you perceive things all the way up until time. So, through this process, maybe it has been 6 or 7 months from our understanding of time linearly and how our eyes see time. 6 or 7 months have passed of us being locked down. But I may have done 3 years worth of meditation within that time.
Yeah.
And that's how it works. The deepening of my understanding, because I went to a place where time and space don't exist. It's within me. So I get a chance to understand these concepts and just play with them during this time where nothing's happening, but to me, everything's happening. This is more important than anything, man, because when I pass away, let me tell you something, I can't tell you the last audition I went on. I couldn't even tell you who's sitting in front of me. I'm not saying it doesn't matter to me, it does, but it's not what I'm going to take with me. Certain sensations that I feel when I invoke things that make me happy during my meditation, those things I remember over time. Sitting,
being states,
being present, truly present, understanding what presence is, being in the now.
So it sounds like the relationship that you are opening up to yourself, the deepening of that relationship in this time has gotten you more connected to the power of being states rather than temporary experiences.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Getting attached to temporary experiences.
Start to play around in the immaterial world rather than the material.
Yeah.
And really making sure that you're what's that called in your computer? That your cache is clear. You got to kind of go through it. It's a really good time to be doing it, man.
Yeah, man.
And that was a really good time to clear your cache.
Clear the cache out.
Clear the cache, man. That was a good time.
Empty out the cookies.
Yeah.
Because those are stale, man.
Gotta get them out, man.
Get rid of the stale cookies.
Because you got to transcend, man. You got to keep moving forward. And I understand. I get the pain that's going around the world. I know that there's a lot of actors who have been forced to, go back to, wherever they're from, Montana or something like that. Figure something out, and I understand that, and that's a part of this whole process. And it's, and to me, man, it kind of feels like, don't worry, it's gonna be back. That's kind of how I feel about it. Because I know a lot of people who just are trying to figure, especially in LA, how expensive it is to live.
Right.
I see a lot of people and I hear about it, and when I hear about it, this is real. This is like the first asshole comment I've made so far. Is that it's not that I don't care. It's just that okay, well, it's only over if that's what you choose. I know that Corona can be very difficult. I know it can. But you can figure it out. 110%. Figure it out. It may take patience, and it may take an unbelievable amount of effort that you have yet to see come out of yourself.
Yeah, you're not denying the suffering and the hardship, but
I'm not.
It's you're connecting with the knowing underneath that you will get through it.
Exactly. I remember seeing. I love to look at nature at times and see wildebeest.
All the lessons are there.
They are, because those are the true laws of who we are. Truth. You see, I remember watching the zebra, and he was crossing the river with the rest of them, and he got snagged up by the biggest crocodile you've ever seen. And I guess I didn't know this. I learned something. Crocodiles, when they're getting herds of animals, gazelle, wildebeest, they just keep killing, and they let the bodies flow down the river, and they get the bodies later. So after they get one, they'll just keep going. I saw this one zebra, and it got caught by one crocodile, and then another one came, and another one came, 3 of them, and this thing just kept fighting. It kept fighting.
The zebra?
The zebra, and it got out.
Wow.
It got out. It fought for its life, and it got out.
Yeah.
And you're literally looking at this animal refusing to go down.
Yeah.
Refusing.
Yeah.
And it was rewarded with its life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know if it ripped a vein artery or something like that. You know, like maybe it did, but like the point was, it didn't die in that river.
Mm-hmm.
It died. If it did die, it died on the land.
Right.
So the point is that no matter how difficult it is, we do live in the realm of creation and destruction. So you must create no matter how bad the destruction is. You must, because that's why we're generators. That's why we have energy to create amongst the destruction. That's why that's why we can't turn off, man. Even I don't like people think that we turn off, because we don't. Because even when you're sleeping, you're dreaming. You never stop thinking.
Right. Yeah, it's like once you get into this mindset that your life is an act of creation, then literally everything that you do is now part of your work.
Exactly.
Like when you need to rest, when you need a day in nature to rest, laying there on a rock in the sun is part of your work.
It's fueling.
Yeah,
it's
fueling.
And it's huge, and it's a major part of it.
Yeah.
All these parts add into the whole, and it's very important. So, you know, for all the people who are having a hard time, you know, and can't sometimes see the clarity of the future, well, first of all, you're not supposed to. And second of all, you know, no matter how unclear it can be, within the present moment, there's a lot of beautiful answers. Within the present moment, there's a lot of things that you actually can handle. And you go from moment to moment to moment and handle those issues. So I implore all artists to understand that this is one of those times where you just truly create the most that you ever have. And I'm not talking about go paint a picture. I'm talking about create a safe haven for your mind state. Create a place where you know you can come back. Yeah. This is true. This is an
inner refuge.
This is creating for your life now. This isn't creating for expression. This is creating for your life.
Yeah.
And it's important.
I love that, man.
It's important.
Yeah. So, and that goes across all disciplines. That goes across all art forms, athletic pursuits, whatever it is you feel called to do, or what your work is in the world. You know,
create for your life.
Yeah. So that kind of leads into the next question, you know, which is like after you know, this sort of withdrawal that has happened during COVID and this deeper self-investment process that you've been in, what sort of new openings are you seeing emerge from yourself that you want to make in the world?
Well, the one thing I've been finding is that my aura, my presence has really become. You can feel it more. Like I can even feel
your own energy more.
I can feel how my own energy is affecting other people. I can feel it. Because I'm investing. I'm conscious.
And you're just more attuned to what that looks like and what it feels like.
For me, this is LA.
Yeah. Sorry, folks.
Well, this is LA.
It's noisy out here.
How that goes. Los Angeles, California.
Commercial break.
Known for helicopter. Let's watch Boys in the Hood. So,
which I probably saw for the first time at your house.
Yeah, 100%.
Quick sidebar. You know, I had a relatively conservative upbringing, and there were a lot of films I was not allowed to see at home. You know, so I received much of my film education at Jordan's house. And Jordan's dad, he was always around. You know, we were watching these movies like Pulp Fiction at 13. You know, he would come in and be like, "Now, Matthew, here's what's going on here. You got to be able to see what's happening." And I just,
I see that.
So yeah, it was great education.
Yeah, I'm sitting there watching Predator 2 at 9 because I found it inside the case of VHS.
Yeah, he knew what was going on. He's like, "I know your parents won't let you watch this stuff, so let me tell you what's up." So you were saying, noticing energy, how your energy affects people.
So it's more so about, you know, I'm getting a little weird. Not weird. I'm getting a little kung fu with life. You know, I kind of want to get a little bit more settled in. I lost touch of the forever me. Okay, and what,
like the grind that you were in was maybe consuming
exactly.
too much.
It was taking away from this essence that is untouched by anything. But the essence of me can be on any other civilization in the galaxy. You know, the essence of me. And sometimes there are some factors in this world that come in and alter or distort your essence due to its nature. And so the nature of acting, which I can tell you distorts a lot of people's essence.
Right.
Because you get so locked in on how other people view you and all these really toxic things that you must learn to control.
Yeah.
Your essence can get distorted. And stepping away from acting for a little bit, it was just amazing to get my essence back. And it's not like I lost my skill. I did a self-tape the other week. So I now am adding a little bit more, not me, but the essence that is me into the work. If I can carry this aura into my work more, can my characters have this aura? This sense that I feel. If I can go to Chipotle and have a conversation with everybody going down the line, how you doing? And they're asking me how I'm doing, you know, not just because they're friendly, it's because I actually go there every day. But I have an aura that they see me, they wave, they know it's me, you know, even with the mask on. It's because I come there with a certain sense of, I'm extremely grateful because I like them and they're fun and they do a good job and we get to joke and laugh and it's amazing. And it's, man, let me tell you something, it's like touching, it's like touching a high almost, you know, it's just like, damn, it feels good to be alive. And I'm just talking to people, how you doing? You know, like, is everybody's good? It's great, man.
So
awesome.
Are you feeling that, like, you know, when the time comes for when acting work starts to pick up again, that you're going to be able to reapproach that with a deeper authenticity of where it's flowing from the real you that you got a chance to develop the relationship with in this pause time.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure, man. And I can relate to that so much just musically. Like when in periods of my life when I've been overworked and did not have enough of myself to give to the music, I could feel the disparity there. And when you're trying to embody a vibe and it's just, you don't have enough energy to do it.
The well is dry, man.
Yeah,
the well is dry.
Exactly.
This is gone.
Yeah.
You can't tap
and it's a sad feeling when you want to put yourself, but that there isn't enough energy there, that connection is.
In terms of the color by numbers.
Yeah.
In terms of color, because when you're skilled, you know how to get over with the skill. You know how to, I mean, I can.
Right, you can mask it.
Exactly.
You can mask it with the time you've spent developing your craft.
But it's not going to have.
It doesn't have real joy.
Exactly. It doesn't have me in it. It doesn't have me. It doesn't have the spontaneity. It doesn't have the. We also have a lot of fires in California right now, so it's just to let you know.
We might have to suddenly evacuate.
Yeah, there's no joke out here, but you know, it's like you obtain the skill to be able to express yourself in a multitude of ways. But then when you obtain the skill, and you just do the skill, it's like you're just making ghosts. You know what I'm saying? You're just like, you know,
you can go into automation.
Yeah, man.
Autopilot
and whatever else. Man. I mean, there's times, and like I'll be honest with you, there's been times where I've done an audition or two where my manager doesn't like when I do these, but where it's like 3 or 4 lines. You know, some big movie or something, and I go on, it's like, hey man, you can't go over there. You know, you just kind of like play by numbers. You know, it's like 4 lines, whatever, just blah, 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 and you go do it.
Right.
And you look back on it, it's like, I could have been better.
And then you're sitting with that feeling of like, you feel cheap.
Yeah, you feel like a little asshole. You feel
cheap.
entitled. You feel like a little asshole. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, you had this opportunity to make something beautiful. You judged it. You know, you're the one that sat there and just demonized this thing when you should have just been happy and grateful and all those things. It's just because, but you know what? It's not. It's because you get so caught up into that. Your well-being dry. You get so caught up in everyday life. You get so caught up in where you got to go to later on and whatever else at the present.
Not being present.
Exactly. Not being present. Like when I'm present, man, it's just like the only thing that matters is right here. Whatever these lines say, and that's it. And you know, man, it's just about being present. So now that I'm feeling like, you know, when I was in theater school, man, I was like the most present I ever was because nothing mattered. You know,
Right.
I was in theater school, and I was on Broadway for a while, and that was a little bit, you know, I had a couple of jobs in between there, but I was able to really stay embedded in the work. And then I come out here and I'm auditioning more than I'm working. So you kind of start slowly falling out of that present state because you know what I'm saying? You're just like,
because then there's all the layers of the rejection and the armoring
being
and like,
late, and like all like
right,
oh my
just
God,
the hustle aspect
exactly.
of it.
LA traffic, man. Like I'll take you out of anything.
It takes you further and further away from the essence of the thing.
Exactly.
And
So-
your relationship to yourself is how you keep your connection with the essence of the thing.
Exactly.
Despite negotiating the madness of the world.
Exactly, man.
Yeah.
As long as you're able to walk slow motion through a fast-paced world, you're good.
And that's
You
a
know?
beautiful image. Like when you have a mindfulness practice that you are engaging in regularly, you start to find this feeling of like everything else around you is just zipping, and you're just flowing through it.
Just loving it.
It's like the state in your mind where you're watching yourself have thoughts, and your thoughts are going nuts, and then there's your still awareness.
Yep, it's right there.
That is just the eye of that storm, just watching it all going,
Very cool.
you know,
Because it's supposed to be taken in, man.
undistracted.
It's a beautiful experience, man.
Yeah.
So with the whole COVID, you know, it was like it truly was like a time where you know, in the quarterings of our lives, you know, I'm treating COVID like a winter, and that since it is a winter, I get to stay inside, be right here, and you know, work on the inside. The work is done.
It's a beautiful analogy, man, and it connects to what we were talking about inside with, you know, how we're in this age where our culture at large is at a disconnect with the natural rhythms that the seasons present us with.
Exactly.
But yeah, COVID has been like a personal winter, which is a natural time of withdrawing, going within, cleaning house,
Clear the cache.
developing all these sorts of things, so that when the springtime comes,
It will.
as we know it will, you know,
It will.
we don't know what's going to happen until that springtime comes.
Nah, not even that.
Yeah, but when that time does come, you'll be ready to emerge back into the world, not with the sameness and the beat down, you know, disconnection that you had experienced beforehand, but with this renewed
Vibrant
sense of connection to yourself.
These vibrant colors that you were able to convey within yourself. Now is a wonderful time.
Yeah.
A wonderful time to dive deep and ask those questions. You know, there's no time should ever be wasted. It just should, and no matter how difficult.
The present moment is infinitely precious.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Man. There's something to do.
Yeah,
You know,
there's always
there's
something to do.
whether it be
Boredom is
spiritual or-
not a real thing.
It's not. Like, there's so much to do. Like, I'm trying to work through childhood trauma. I'm like, what are you doing? You're not gonna do. Wild. But there's always something to work on.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, it's definitely this statement is coming from the state of where I'm at. But for me, this time has. I wouldn't say been needed, but it came during a transcendental moment in my life. So it came at a time as I was transcending a certain level of understanding and frequency. And I had two options. Use the time or lose the time.
Yep.
And I decided to use it.
Yes.
And let go of everything else. I did have to call my manager and ask these very difficult questions to ask. I've spent a lot of time here putting in a lot of work, a lot of groundwork.
Yeah.
When I talk about the groundwork, for example, I don't do social media. I don't do Facebook or Instagram or any of those things for own personal reasons and spiritual reasons. For my manager, who is a very good manager, he has a little bit of a
Point of tension. Yeah.
but we are very good friends. Like I'm uncle to his kids. He came to my brother's wedding. He came to Jason's wedding. And my brother Jason's wedding. So you know we're very, very, very close. And then he started understanding how I was, in that I completely based myself on the work. And like even when I'm offered a job, they're saying, Jordan, we want you to do this. Like I was offered to film. I was like, I still want to read for it. Yeah, I know. I just want you guys to know that I'm the right one. Don't wait for day one. Just let me read for it now. Let me do the process. I like reading for it. I like, making sure. So when we would do the social media thing, we talk about like, yeah, it could help with exposure. You get to know some casting directors follow you, X, Y, and Z. And I was like, nah, man. I got a feeling that these casting directors, everybody's gonna like me for what I do. And I spent the first year just going on the circuit of like some of the biggest casting directors. My managers with a really, really good place, and they were able to. Just basically able to get me in every room really quickly. Like I'm auditioning for like Tom Ford's movie and like all these things. And I'm like coming from New York, not knowing like, oh wow, okay, I guess this is what this is. So 4 years of getting all these casting directors getting cast and everything out without any social media, without any.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about so many auditions, man. Even ones where I know it's just like, oh, they're definitely gonna get down. But okay, for example, I auditioned for Solo. I was auditioned to play Lando Calrissian, right?
Oh, nice.
And I was sitting in there with Ice Cube's son, like a whole bunch of other actors that you would definitely know. I'm like in the room, just sitting next to them.
What I'm hearing in this, man, is like you got clear about the fact that like social media was a boundary that you wanted to put up.
Yep.
Because you like that represent, if you were engaged in that world, it was going to make you less effective in your work. And even though that runs contradictory to the business that you're in, you were firm about that, and you were able to find a way to work with that and still work super freaking hard in order to get the roles.
And I also, that's absolutely right.
So like the boundaries are important.
I'm going to put that on top of my resume. But the other thing about it was...
I'll invoice you later.
All right, man. I know you. Get a friend's like, God. So the other thing about that was the fact that the biggest thing about that was I always felt that social media and having an Instagram and doing all those things was going to take away from my work. It was going to take away from me. So, so it was going to take away from my work. You know what I'm saying? It was going to take away from. I just feel funny is that like when I'm doing a story, I'm telling somebody else's story. I'm asking you to be empathetic. I'm asking you to not be the person who may be out on the street. I'm asking you to open your heart for a little bit, and I'm asking you to feel me. And I feel the less you know about me, the easier it is for me to get you to do that. I don't want you to know who I am. I'd rather be a stranger to you. I don't feel like actors should be sitting there putting their lives out there, because when we're doing something that's so precious as telling a story, usually of something very sensitive, usually of something that is going to teach people a teachable lesson, I feel it's best that we don't do things that could lead to any like levels of narcissism and things like that. And it kind of like, social media is good, but let me tell you something, man. It is razor edge thin.
It is.
It's razor edge thin, and I am not going to be one to. I'd rather you be reading a book than looking at what I ate yesterday or how good I look after I run a mile. Like, go read a book. Go meditate. If I'm going to sit up there and meditate for hours, like I have 3 meditation sessions a day. If I'm going to do that, how is it right for me to pull someone's time away to look at myself? Those two things don't work for me. They just don't make any sense. So, and I felt that way even back in 2008 when I got off of Facebook.
Yeah.
Like, I just felt like I don't want people looking at my life or spending time on it. I feel like it's almost wrong and robbing. So that's why I never got into it. But at the same time, there are good Instagrams out there that do a good job, and like they're promoting good things and all that. Which is, I totally agree. I'm not saying that all of them are bad by any means. But for me, for my personal reasons, I would not be putting anything out there that is bettering the world. It would just be pictures of me on set. Yeah. Pictures of me trying to get you to watch this show.
You feel like you're more effective in the world by not engaging in
exactly.
that. Yeah, and I respect that, man. And I think that's, to relate that to something broader, that the listeners can connect to, is that like we've got to evaluate what we choose to put our energy into in our lives based off of that kind of rubric. Like are we engaging in something to inflate our ego, or are we engaging in something in order to invest and grow that relationship to ourselves that we've been talking about, that allows us to show up better?
And I feel like from my standpoint, from my position,
no,
if I was a writer, or if I read a story that I felt like the world should know, then I feel like having a platform like that would be great to just give great information to people.
Right.
And I'm not saying that I can't do that as Jordan Tisdale.
Yeah. But it happens through a different vector.
Exactly. But for me, it's just that, like, I like to stay within the places where I feel most comfortable. Even though this story's right for me, someone else could find it offensive.
Right.
So I'm just going to stay right here. And,
Yeah.
I'll tell you about the book.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, I definitely respect that. Yeah. And I think this is, this is a good pause point, because we could talk all night.
Yeah, we could. You're really good. Like, seriously.
But, just to summate some of the things that you said, and to, encapsulate this into some insights for the viewer, just from how you're approaching everything, is like placing the highest priority around your self-work. Placing that is where your primary energetic investment goes, because that relationship to yourself is what enables you to be most effective in the world in your work.
Absolutely.
And that is, that's a common thread through all these conversations, and I think that's a huge unlocking point for so many people. It's like, it's so hard to wrap our minds around when we're not experiencing it, but when you start diving in like that, you start to feel those changes. So I love hearing about how, that's manifested in the acting world for you.
Yes, it totally is, man.
Yeah, so I've been wrapping up all these just with, having people just tell the viewers where they can, how they can access your work, or obviously with you it's a little different, and since you're off social media, I know it's a little trickier. So if there's one role in a particular show or thing that you would love to toss out there where people can see you in action.
I mean, I guess
we can link to that in the notes. And stuff.
Absolutely. There's a movie out on Amazon Prime. It's called The Capture. I star in it with a guy named Jonathan Howard. You might recognize him from he was in Thor, a couple other movies, the new King Kong movie. And Nora J. Noon, she's a really good actress from a very cult classic movie called The Descent that people used to love. Like, they go down ground and a whole bunch of weird things. It's a horror movie. But The Capture is actually on Amazon Prime.
The Capture.
Yeah. Cool. And then I was recently on a couple episodes of Deputy. That was a Fox television show with Stephen Dorff, and I believe I'm on the second and third, or the third and fourth, but definitely the third episode. And I play a paranoid schizophrenic. So it was a really cool scene with Stephen Dorff, who's a legendary actor. Very cool. I don't know if you guys have seen Blade. He was Deacon Frost in Blade, so that was like huge.
Awesome.
He's lovely.
Cool.
So that's where you can check me out. And then also the IMDb, Jordan Tisdale, you can definitely check that out. And you won't see me on social media.
Nice. Well, hey man, thanks so much for sharing what you shared and giving us those insights into your process and how that relates to existence at large.
I appreciate
you, man.
Thanks, man.